What's going on, guys? I just purchased another fourplex at over a 30% cash on cash return. And so in this video, I'm gonna explain what that return means. I'm gonna talk about how I found this deal, analyzed it, and purchased it, and show you everything that you can do to find a deal just like it. So with that being said, let's jump into it. First off, I want to explain what a cash on cash return means, specifically a 30% cash on cash return. What this metric is a percentage return on the amount of money that you have invested in a property, and that return is just your cash flow. For example, this means that every $1,000 I'm investing into a property like this, I'm getting $300 back every single year just in cash flow. That's after I've paid my mortgage, my insurance, my taxes, and any other expenses, and planned on a 5% vacancy, and I'm still making $300 in just cash flow from that $1,000 invested. This is a crazy return to find on a rental property, and the reason it's so crazy is you make more money from other forms of return. You've got your cash flow, which on this deal is over a 30%, but you also have appreciation, you have principal pay down, you have tax benefits, and if you add all of these up, this specific property is going to give me over a 50% return on my money every single year. If you can't tell, I am very excited about this deal, and I'm also extremely excited to talk to you about how I found it, analyzed it, and purchased it so that you can do the same. Now, most deals that I find and purchase, I get them through wholesalers, realtors, off-market investors, other management companies, sending out mailers, the MLS, or some other form of Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or connections. However, this particular property was found a different way, and I'm gonna share it with you because I plan on buying a ton more properties just like this. A couple years ago, I met a guy named Nate, and Nate's the man. He runs a team out in Cleveland that does a phenomenal job of finding properties that have been completely let go. Now, these properties have awesome bones, but they don't have tenants in there, they're not cash flowing well, they're beat up, and they obviously have some issues that need to be fixed, not only with the property, but with management as well. He jumps in with his team and renovates the entire property, makes it look phenomenal, and turns it into an incredible place to live. He then rents it out to fantastic tenants and puts them under great management so that these specific properties are turned into a cash cow. He then sells them to a very lucky investor, and fortunately for me, I've been able to turn into that guy. Now, this process is not unique at all in the real estate world because there are tons of flippers out there. However, what makes Nate so unique is that he does such an incredible job, and then he sells the properties to me at such a phenomenal price. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, Chandler, if he's so good, why give you a discount to where these numbers are so phenomenal? Why not just open them up to the market so that any investor can come in and pay even more and he wins even more? Well, here's the answer. First of all, it's hard and intimidating to be able to go and try and sell a property, especially when you're competing against other properties and dealing with a lot of potential investors that might not see it through. This can leave you in a situation where you're stuck holding these properties with your cash locked up, and that can really hurt your return. The other thing that you've got to remember is there are additional fees and expenses with hiring a realtor and paying for marketing of a property. Even after you've gone through this process, there's still a chance you get beat up by investors and you're left holding the bag of how long you had to hold the property for before you were able to unload it, and all of the expenses that come with realtors and marketing.
Let's see what the damage is. Only $10,000.
When someone like Nate and his team is able to find an investor like me that they know my specific buy box, and if they can get within my criteria, it is a guaranteed sale that sometimes can happen within 7 days if we do it cash, or as much as 20 to 30 days if we do a loan. They know exactly what their time frame is going to be. So as they're getting close to finishing the property, the second it is renovated and finished, they know they can flip it to me. This relationship makes it possible so that I can pick up properties with a phenomenal return after his team has done an awesome job, and I'm able to save them tons of expenses that they can give a chunk of those potential expenses back to me and lowering the purchase price so that they can get within my buy box. I'm not here to tell you that finding a relationship like this is easy. However, now that I have it, it's made it possible for both me and Nate to be able to scale so much faster, me in finding the deals that I want, and Nate in flipping even more deals because he knows he has a guaranteed buyer if he can get within my buy box. So if you're an investor looking for a relationship like this, the most important part is that you get your buy box extremely specific so that when you do come in contact with some phenomenal teams, you know what to give them. And then if they bring you a deal that's within that buy box, you have to be prepared to close on that property quickly and show that you're not indecisive and that you're willing to pull the trigger. Because once you pull the trigger and you make it a very smooth and easy process and you tell them that you want to buy more, they're going to continue to bring you great deals. However, if you make it a painful process for a team that brings you a deal that is within your buy box and you're trying to push back on price or get it lower or back out altogether, you're going to hurt that relationship and it's going to be hard to put yourself in the right situation. If you have a team and you're trying to flip properties like this and you'd like to connect with an investor like me, here would be my advice. First of all, I'm looking for more people like you. So message me on Instagram at ChandlerDavidSmith, or you can send an email to ChandlerDavidSmithBusiness@gmail.com. Now, if you don't want to come to me specifically, what I would say is if you're trying to find a good investor, make sure that when they bring you a buy box, you let them know if you can meet that criteria, and then you make sure that the deal that you give them does meet that criteria. Because if you say, yeah, I can do that, and then you turn over a deal that's crap, you're gonna have a hard time building a relationship with good investors. The next big question I'm assuming a lot of you want to ask is, Chandler, what is your specific buy box? And when I was a younger investor, I would have responded quickly with a 15% cash on cash return. Now, the problem with this answer is it doesn't take into consideration the location or the quality of the property. And so in my real estate investing course, I go through how to analyze a larger location and then the neighborhood within that location and the specific property to make sure you're meeting a certain criteria there. And then that will determine how high of a cash on cash return you're needing. Now, for these properties in Cleveland, they are in a location with a little bit higher risk tenant and a little bit higher risk property, because the history of Cleveland hasn't been that great over the last 10, 20, 30 years when it comes to appreciation. However, I have a high level of confidence that that's turned and we're going to see some really good appreciation in areas like Cleveland and other areas in the Midwest. However, this makes it a requirement to have a higher cash on cash return when you're buying in these areas. And that's going to completely change and depend on the location that I'm looking at when buying a property. So if you want a more in-depth answer, you can click the link below and get $50 off my real estate investing course. However, I still want to give you as much information as I can in this video. And so before we jump into analyzing the rental property and all of the numbers, I'm going to give you a very broad bird's eye look of my specific buy box. I first need to make sure it's a location that I feel comfortable with when it comes to crime and things like that, where I know the property is going to be safe and well kept. I also want to make sure that the renovations have been done properly, that it's quality units that are clean and ready for phenomenal tenants. In Cleveland specifically, I have a minimum of a 30% cash on cash return for these properties, where if you approach me in Idaho Falls, Idaho, if it meets my criteria here of location and property type, I would be willing to buy at only a 10 to 15% cash on cash return, depending again on the location within Idaho Falls and what kind of property we're looking at. I'm currently in a place where I would never purchase a property lower than a 10% cash on cash return. Finally, for these specific units out in Cleveland, I want to know that at least 75% of the units have been filled with new tenants that are at or above the promised market rents. I'm fine filling the last unit if it's a fourplex, if 3 of the units have been filled, because then I know 100% that the numbers are what they need to be. And the last thing is I want a clean inspection. I want to make sure that I've had a third-party inspector go through the property and see that there aren't any major issues, and so that I can get pictures and a report from them outside of the pictures and report that I've already received from Nate. Now, this isn't because I don't trust Nate. I've just come to find that especially if you're doing business with friends, you know that you won't have problems if you do your due diligence above and beyond, because then you're never going to blame them for scamming you. Because if you miss something in the inspection on your due diligence, that's on you. That's not on them. And I know Nate wouldn't do any of that on purpose, but that protects me and makes sure that I can maintain a good relationship in the process. I've already purchased 7 units in the last month from Nate. I've got another 6 under contract, and we're hoping to clear 80 and preferably 100 units before the end of the year. So if you think you're another Nate out there, I would love to connect with you. Make sure you hit me up on Instagram at ChandlerDavidSmith. Now, before we run the numbers, I wanted to just run you through a couple of the pictures of this unit. First off, you can see the exterior just looks awesome. I think this is the cutest fourplex that I've bought in a long time. You can tell they've really done a lot of great work in cleaning it up and making it look awesome. And not just the property, but the landscape as well. Going inside, you can see that everything has been painted. We've got new flooring in some of the areas, or we've got the hardwood that's been refinished and looks nice and shiny. You can see all of the trim, the paint, everything is just looking awesome. You can also see the areas where we've added some new carpet, and the bathrooms look great, the bedrooms look great, the kitchen looks awesome. I also got an inspection back and saw that this property was in tip-top shape, and so I was beyond excited about the state of this specific property, especially knowing the rents. Now, the numbers are what gets me the most excited about this property, even though it's super cute. And so I'm gonna analyze it with you in the CDS rental calculator, which is an app that I developed that I've given away completely free. So if you wanna download it to be able to use in under a minute to plug in the numbers and analyze a rental property, you can hop onto the App Store on Android or iOS. Just plug in CDS rental calculator. You can download it in just a couple seconds, and then you can start running the numbers. All right, we're gonna start off with a purchase price of $285,000. Cost to make rent ready is nothing because Nate's already got all of that taken care of. So that's gonna be 0. Down payment is gonna be 25%. Closing costs are going to be 2%. Years to pay off is going to be 30 because I have a DSCR loan at a 6.75% interest rate. So we're going to plug in that 6.75% interest rate. Now, the rents right now, I'm actually going to show you these. We have 3 of the units that have paid, and I've got some other rents from the other properties on here. Those 3 are all $1,200 or higher. And so I ran for all 4 units at $1,200. Now I'm hoping we're even higher than that, but that's what we're gonna run these numbers at. So that gives us a total of $4,800. For other income, there isn't anything there. And then for vacancy, we're gonna plan on 5%. For maintenance, I always like to run it at 12% in this area. And for management, we're gonna run that at 8%. For insurance, we're gonna run that at $1,500, and the taxes are $2,200. So once you get all of that plugged in, we're gonna click run the numbers. And as you can see, then this is going to spit out all of your return metrics. Got your purchase price. The total capital required for this property was $75,000. So that's the number I had to invest into the property to be able to purchase it with a loan. So that $75,525 is what I'm getting a 31.04% return on every single year, as long as things pan out as expected, which usually they pan out even better on these properties because I've been pretty aggressive with my expenses and management and vacancy, so that we're hoping for best case scenario, but planning for the worst. So that's a 31% cash on cash return. That puts this property at a 14% cap rate. So if I was buying it cash, it would be giving me a 14% return in cash flow. So my current cash flow with a loan in place is $23,439.46. And every single month I'm getting $2,278 of principal paydown. This number is pulling from the average of the first year, so that principal paydown number is going to go up even more as time goes on. This property is absolutely a cash cow, and I'm so excited to now own it and have it under management. And I'm also excited for some of you out there to go and put this method into practice, because I can promise you there's so many flippers out there that have a phenomenal team that know what they're doing, that know how to find these properties that are beat up and turn them into a beautiful property that cash flows like crazy and flip it to you where they can get a handsome profit and you can get your hands on an awesome rental property that cash flows extremely well. Now, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell so that you can catch my future videos. And I wanted to tease just one last thing. Now, for years and years, I've wanted to start a community of like-minded real estate investors that are motivated to find deals on a consistent basis and scale their real estate investing portfolio. I've wanted to get them together so that I can interact with them, so that they can interact with each other, so that I can bring in professionals from all over the United States that have crushed it investing in real estate, and so that we can meet on a weekly basis to answer questions and help you reach the next level. And I finally decided to launch this community. Now, that's all I'm going to say about it right now, and it's still a month or two before we're going to launch it. But if you haven't already purchased my real estate investing course, I've included a link in the description with $50 off, and it includes a step-by-step process of everything that you need to do to start investing and find incredible deals and go through the whole process with due diligence and everything else. And I'm really proud of that course, but the reason I'm sharing it with you is, one, I think it'll give you an awesome start, but the people that have enlisted in the course are the people that I'm going to be sending access to the community. So with the community, we want to keep very small so that I actually get an opportunity to interact with people. And so if it is something you're interested in, make sure that you go snag the course over the next month or two, because we're going to be launching the community and you'll be one of the first ones to get the email. If you want to make sure you get a spot, you can also send me a message on Instagram at ChandlerDavidSmith, and we're just going to open it up once the time comes, and whoever fills the first spots will get them. Because again, this is also going to be a test run for me, and I want it to just be an incredible experience, and I think the only way we can do that is by keeping it smaller. So if you've got any questions, hit me up on Instagram, and if you enjoyed this video, thanks so much for sticking it out to the end, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.